Welcome back to the studio. Grab yourself a tasty beverage and let's go ahead and have a little chat about a couple of car companies, one new and one not so new. So in an earlier Q&A, we were fielding questions about the viability of solar powered cars, not solar powering a car, mind you, but solar powered cars. And so the subject of a vehicle called the Lightyear came up. Now, recently I've been fielding a whole bunch of questions, both online and also from friends, and have had to suffer through a volley of stories about the return of Aptera. Now, every once in a while you get excited by something that's coming out, it's ahead of its time, and it looks like a great idea. The Aptera seemed like that when it came out in the mid-2000s. At that point, it was really something to get excited about. Now, the problem with that was that they never actually came out with anything. They took orders for local delivery in California, but it never really came out. You kept seeing the same prototypes over and over again being paraded around, and again they're trying to drum up excitement and investment in the company. And at some point you expect them to release something. Now the argument has been, oh well, 2008 was very difficult and all that. Well, that same argument could also apply to another car company that was struggling to get started. So while Aptera was monkeying about with their three-wheeled vehicle and parading that around, Tesla was actually retrofitting an existing chassis and trying to get that on the road, and also develop their own battery technology that they were shopping around to Mercedes. Now, Aptera could have done the same thing. They're in the same boat as Tesla. They were in a situation where the technology just simply didn't exist. They had to create everything that they were going to use for the most part. But they didn't. Tesla did. Okay, so enough harping on that. We'll just go ahead and say, for the sake of this, that it was what it was, and that Aptera went away. Well, the problem is that Aptera, after all of that, is now back. The problem for Aptera is that they're back with the exact same vehicle that they left off with when the Roadster was the greatest thing, the next step, even beyond what Aptera was trying to produce. So I did mention the Lightyear. Now I realize that the Lightyear and the Aptera are vastly different vehicle concepts. The Lightyear is designed to be a solar powered, at least in part, while the Aptera wasn't. The Aptera was designed small, two-seat kind of runabout car, while the Lightyear is billing itself as a 5-seat sedan. So now we'll talk about that difference and how they do share some similarities. And so they do share one glaring similarity, and this similarity is going to be the demise of both of these vehicles and any other vehicle that comes along that has this same flaw: lightweight. Lightweight isn't all that big of an issue so long as the vehicle doesn't come off as flimsy. So you can go ahead and try and do weight reduction techniques. Tesla did that. The Chevy Bolt did that. Rivian, all the major players, they've all done that, right? But unfortunately for both the Aptera and the Lightyear, the reduction of that resulted in a very flimsy vehicle. And the reason that's an insurmountable obstacle for both of these cars is that when you make a vehicle so light that it seems flimsy, you achieve really only one thing. You're trying to get a free lunch as far as the range is concerned. That's it. And you have sacrificed everything else on that altar just to try and get more range out of less battery power. Here's why that's doomed. The Aptera is offering three different flavors, a variety of different flavors in their car. Battery ranges between 40 and 100 kilowatt hours. Now, for those who don't know what the Aptera looks like, it looks like this. Here it is. Now, I really want to talk about the batteries, but I'm going to have to address the elephant in the room first. I want you to take a close look at this thing and ask yourself, how would this do in a side impact? Would it pass a side impact safety test? No, it won't. So why is this thing even on the road? Well, as you see, it's not really a car, is it? It's got three wheels. That means, wait for it, it's a motorcycle. It's classified under the same set of rules that things like the Can-Am are. And as a motorcycle, hell, depending on what state you're in, it's questionable. You might even have to wear a helmet while you're driving it. Don't know if the enclosed canopy has anything to do with that. Maybe some people can let me know what some of the other ramifications are in the comments. But for Aptera, this meant they didn't have to worry about any of those pesky things like vehicle safety. Just slap some lights on it and a turn signal and you're good to go. But I still want to talk about those batteries. But I have to talk about one more thing before addressing the batteries, and that is the size of the thing. This car is actually 2 inches wider than a Tesla Model S. So if you're looking at this thing thinking that it'll be easier to park in a city, think again. Length, I don't know, I have to check. I think it's nearly as long as a Model S as well. They had to do that with the pulling out of the tail to make the thing aerodynamic. So for those of you who own a Tesla Model S, I want you to take a very long look at this thing and ask yourself, where in the hell are they going to put 100 kilowatt hours worth of batteries? And look closely at that image again. Do you see any radiators? Any air ducts at all? So, just like sacrificing overall safety and calling it a motorcycle to make it light, to fit that 100 kilowatt hours of battery in that car, they're doing so with pouch batteries with zero thermal management. So, they're sacrificing battery longevity and likely safety by trying to stuff that many batteries in that weird shaped tiny fuselage that you have. Now, Aptera did actually release a CGI concept for an actual car. This is it here. Does that look familiar? Well, it should, because that is a Lightyear. And if you're going to try and make a long-range vehicle based on lightweight, it's going to have to look about the same, no matter who makes it. The Lightyear has one thing going for it that the Aptera doesn't, and that is that this thing was actually built. And so for that, I give them top marks, that they actually built a working prototype that they could then test their concept on. You will notice that just under the nose, let me pull up that Aptera one more time. You see how that is hollow. And now the Lightyear. That just under the nose, the Lightyear has an air scoop that leads to a radiator. And that is because the engineer on the Lightyear project actually understood that they had to build the damn thing. And they had to make allowances for pesky little things like, oh, I don't know, thermal management. So, though the design language and the engineering requirements were the same, that's what happens when reality takes over. That the thing actually does then mature in design and actually become something that will actually work. So why did I include the Lightyear into this discussion? Well, the Lightyear is also flimsy. It has to be, because the design criteria for being a solar-powered car means that it has to be incredibly light. If you're thinking that you're just going to power the thing by the solar panels that sit on the roof of the car, it's $170,000. That's a problem. The Aptera is at target price of $34,000. That's for the 40 kilowatt hour variant, I'm assuming, with somewhere around 350 to 400 miles of range. And that's a problem. And here's why that's a problem. Because these cars are in that $34,000-ish starting range. For just a little more, the Tesla Model 3 comes in a 310-mile variant. If we're talking about the Lightyear at $170,000, it's worse. For $140,000, you get a four-door sedan from Tesla with 310-mile range, a full interior, performance numbers that'll put a grin on your face every time you leave the driveway. This, not so much. But the reason the Lightyear is really in trouble is that same $170,000, you will get a long-range Model S, $100,000, 370 miles of range, soon to be over 400 miles of range. You will get 12 kilowatts of solar panels and 6 Powerwall 2 batteries. And that will actually be enough to power your car on sunlight. The thing that both of these companies aren't grasping is that tomorrow is not today. They already have no real business model when measured up against the cars of today. The Model S, the Model 3, the Chevy Bolt, even the e-tron and the I-Pace. All right? And then the cars that are coming out soon. The Rivian, the Byton. That's today. And in less than 2 years, the potential range of those vehicles will likely double when they release and integrate solid-state batteries into those vehicles that I've mentioned. So sorry, I just don't see either of these vehicles going anywhere. I just don't. I'd love to hear your own opinions in the comment sections. I hate to sound negative, but the reality is that I am actually very positive in regards to electric transport. But as you've seen the theme with the Energy Sovereignty Project, I'm not going to avoid bringing a healthy dose of reality to all of this. It doesn't do anyone good not to confront these concepts honestly and courageously. It just doesn't. I don't see the Aptera or the Lightyear or any other flimsy type of a vehicle competing with real vehicles that have a similar range. I just don't. So anyway, as always, best of luck with your own systems and your own projects. Hope you found this interesting. Feel free to let us know in the description whether or not you feel the same way about whether or not there's a market for ultralight types of vehicles in a world where 400 to 600 mile ranges on truck-sized vehicles are commonplace. But until next time, see you soon.